Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Alright, so I wanted to make another video. I know the last video was kind of a hot take saying, like, I'm happy mapping is dead. But it's true. I'm actually kind of glad that they took some of the loot out of maps, and I'll kind of get into, again, why I think that a little bit later in the video. But I just want to get another kind of general state of PoE video, because it seems like every content creator is kind of throwing their hat in the ring about that, and I wanted to maybe give you guys a perspective on the average PoE player's experience with day 2.5 of Solo Self-Found on the Righteous Fire Templar, why it's going really good, things I'm really starting to like, and things that I am kind of realizing the more that I play Solo Self-Found, specifically on this character, some of the underlying issues the game maybe people aren't addressing. If you like this video, remember to subscribe, like below. I do go live every day, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time over at twitch.tv/drydeck_TV. I will see you guys in the video. Let's get into it. Okay, so I'm actually having fun with the league. It's crazy, right? I know. Loot's dead, game's dead, grinding gear, game sucks. You know, people getting banned. It's bad right now, dude. Reddit is on fire, right? But there is some things I want to touch on after a couple experiences, like days that I've experienced Solo Self-Found, has really changed my perspective on some things in the game that I've really kind of harked on for years, and really kind of made me get a taste of my own medicine, because there's a lot of things that I agreed with, a lot of things I didn't agree with, that the community at large might have, but I want to give like my opinion as the most average PoE player I think on the market, what I think is good about the league and what could be improved, and some things that are really bad. And maybe after listening to this, it might not seem as bad as it's being made out on Reddit. So I want to start off by talking, obviously, about the loot, because that's kind of like the main sticking point in the community right now. Why is the loot so bad? Why is the game so shit? I can tell you from my personal anecdotal experience, loot is fine. I've never been one to generate hundreds of exalts in a trade league. I've never been one to have mirror tier gear. So I don't even know what that power feels like or the path to obtain it. So I might be a little insulated, a little bit ignorant, but I'm telling you now that my experience probably mirrors many tens of thousands of people's experience with Path of Exile, okay? Loot is okay. It's a little shifted. Like, I'm getting more awesome bases because of the fracture stuff. I know that people meme on it. Like Jun Rogan, I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. He like got a 75 fracture items, and at that point, yes, that loot is pretty much irrelevant to him. That's fine. To me, it's awesome. I'm so excited. I never really did Cortex. I'm getting all these awesome like fractured mods and all these synthesized bases. It's super cool. And I'm making some insanely cool gear, at least on my part. It's probably like garbage compared to most people, but whatever, it doesn't matter. I would say loot is fine. After watching the podcast and kind of watching some videos today, I think there's a problem that people are not addressing with loot. Two things, okay? One, yes, many rares, most rares are garbage, for the most part. And the game, when Harvest came out, made a fundamental shift in the philosophy of its game. It wants rares plus currency and some other kind of like bubblegum strategies to then make your gear. After Harvest came out, it all went to Harvest. It all, Brittleknee said it perfectly, all roads lead to Harvest. It's not the game's fault, it's Harvest's fault, okay? I understand that people are very sad about Harvest. I never got to experience Harvest, so I don't care, okay? But she made it perfectly. All roads lead to Harvest. The reason being is because there's so many obscure crafting methods in the game, it's kind of getting bloated, that finding gear seems so obsolete compared to what you could make with barely interacting with the game at all. So in Trade League specifically, you buy a base, you find what you want, item level, and then you just have the amount of currency you need to just dump into these random crafting methods until you get the item you want. And the game wasn't designed to do that, essentially. Like, from the ground up, it was never designed to be that way, okay? You'd have these base currencies that you'd use to alter your items, and you kind of just be good enough, and then you would just get on with the game. I would say my proposed fix, just really quickly before moving on, how to, like, fix loot, okay? Because everyone memes on loot. This is how I would fix it, okay? Make make loot 1 drop, maybe not like loot 2.0, maybe like loot 1.5, where it's got some decent rolls. One of my buddies said, like, once you reach a certain level of map tiers, you can only get like tier 3 mods and above, like once you hit yellow tiers or something. That would kind of alleviate like the, oh cool, I got all like tier 9 mods, this is stupid. So that would be a good way, kind of like the higher you get, the less chaff that you get, the less garbage rolls that you get. I'm sure people have suggested this before. The other big one that I kind of want to pose to people, and maybe it'd be too broken, maybe it would actually make the game enjoyable to like pick rares up and like identify them again. Because I really don't enjoy crafting in this game, I find it would, for me specifically, and maybe you can echo this sentiment, if they made rares, specifically rares, have a chance to have any mod in the game based on maybe some different parameters. If you fight like a cold boss or something, you have like X amount of chance to kill when you kill them, as the rare that they drop can have any cold mod from any crafting mod in the game. Temple, heist, harvest, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like all these obscure bases, like it has like Eldritch and Influence and all these things. If you want rares to be exciting, you have to put the game's power into the rare. The problem is right now, all of the really, really powerful stuff is not on generated loot. And that is a huge problem. You need to make the loot generated have a chance, even if it's a low one. Maybe not like 8%, because I'm sick of the 8%, philosophy. Just some arbitrary percent chance, and maybe have a little way you can manipulate it to target farm certain things and get mods from everywhere. Because personally, I don't want to go kill Hunter 28,000 times to get a Hunter Claw with the right base. I think it's dumb. You should have like an exponential higher chance of finding that from very specific places like that. But the general loot of the game, it might kill like the immersion or the lore. It would fix loot overnight, in my opinion. Give loots a chance to have a certain cap of rolls, give it a chance to have decently itemized rolls, and then make those rolls be able to be the most powerful rolls in the game. It would make identifying rares fun again. That's my proposed fix to making the loot that drops on the ground from the billions of monsters we're killing actually fun again, okay? So I want to pose everyone watching this video a serious question. I'm not trying to be confrontational or memeing, okay? And think about it. Really think about it before you post a comment. Is the loot that you have memed on for years and years being worthless, that you filter out anyway, really the problem? Or is it because your currency making strategies have gotten taken away? Ask yourself that before you really think that loot itself is broken. The loot is fine for now. It could be improved. I'm not saying it's perfect. But I really think people are hyper conflating the lack of currency per hour to the lack of everything in the game. And this is a much deeper topic and a much deeper problem with Path of Exile that they're just not addressing, okay? Currency, for the most part, is not being used for what it actually was intended to be, okay? Path of Exile in its infancy, and I mean, I remember watching Crip making videos about how awesome the item progression was, because you could like jeweler and like, oh my god, like these chaos things are really rare, and it's like, oh my god, it's a special event when you get to use them. There is so much of it getting generated nowadays, it becomes trivial. It might as well be gold at this point. Yes, it's gold with special functions attached to it, but in the reality of it, most people don't use that item for what it was intended. They take it to either a crafting window and click a button and it gives them a result, and they may not get the result they want, or they don't do any of that, hoard this useless stuff that all just represents a different amount of the same thing, a currency, a gold cap, to then just buy the item they want, okay? So is loot really the problem? I challenge people when they say loot is the problem. It's the fact that currency generation per hour is being taken down. And I kind of want to touch on a little bit of like the podcast, and I watched Snap's video because he's made like 4 videos talking about like the quadrupling down of GGG. Some people saying they're out of touch, and there's some things I agree with on there, but I want to say this, okay? Like, I love watching Empy's group and Snap and everyone in his team I do sympathize with you. It's not fun to have something you enjoy taken away from you. And I think that's how people feel. It's just things are getting taken away from it. It's not fun to deal with, okay? I hate to say it, but your experience is ruining, I believe, other people's perception of their experience, okay? So going into solo self-found for the first time in a long time, I knew it was going to be slower. I knew it was going to be a little bit more kind of methodical, but loot feels fine. I don't really have a loot issue. It's just a time investment thing, and I think maybe people are looking at that and being like, look, Snap and his team is generating, like, so much currency. It's hard for people to fathom how much currency they burn through in a league faster than everybody or most people in the game. I have zero chance to obtain it. And Tarky said something really good on the podcast. Even though you may not attain it, seeing it is also enjoyable. It gives you that, like, you can live vicariously through them, and that's always fun. I don't want that taken away from the community at large because they have some philosophy change for loot that they want, okay? So I don't think it's a loot problem. I think it's a currency generation problem. And going from Trade League to Solo Self-Found, I believe, has cured me of that frenetic need to try to compete when I know I do not have a chance, okay? I think it was Ziggy D or somebody on the podcast. They had said something to the effect, and I'm paraphrasing, so please forgive me, something to the effect that when you see someone else's like being affected, you think you're being affected at the same same level as them. The reality is we're not, okay? Like, yes, loot has been taken away from the historic stuff, like the Alvas and things, but were they really doing Alva for Alva? No, they weren't. They were doing it because it gave so much quantity, because it was generating an obscene amount of currency per hour, not Alva specific stuff per hour. Would you do heist, one of the most lucrative things right now, if it just gave you heist stuff and you couldn't sell it? Most people probably wouldn't. You don't do league mechanics for the league mechanic. The majority of people who say loot is ruined at the top end is because they can't generate as much currency as they were before, okay? And look, I don't mean to sound rude, but MP's group and the people were able to generate enough currency league start. Day two, okay? Almost every league is day 1 or day 2. They generate so much currency. They have a full 6-man party with a trader on the side. Okay, they generate more currency in 2 days than most people do in many, many leagues. And then, yes, because they spent the time doing it and then they went to go get the payoff, aka the showers of loot we all like to watch, including myself, and they didn't get it, it broke the game. It's like the disconnection there between they generated so much currency to start with that they could do a strategy that they are investing 250 chaos per map. Day fucking 2, they're investing that much per map. It takes people weeks to get that much currency sometimes. I don't think loot is broken. I think currency generation per hour is being slowly taken down each league. Sentinel was crazy, okay? And I think that is the most fundamental issue people are having with the game, that they wrongly put on something else. It's not the loot's fault. It's the currency per hour you're not generating anymore. And it genuinely feels bad. I get it. I played Trade League for years, and I always languished and I'm not making anything because I think trading sucks. I don't want to trade. And I didn't have the knowledge to generate the income that people are generating, okay? I don't think it's a loot problem. It's a currency generation per hour. And Trade League hyper-optimized groups are making people's perception of the game way skewed than what it needs to be. They look at people like MP's group, and I mean, I like to kind of go back to Cute Dog because he's like a solo juicer. He was like the solo juicer, right? Same with Grimro. He generates a whole bunch of currency. He's kind of like the league guy. He likes getting the league mechanics and see how much you can generate. But even those guys are aware that their experience is not what we're experiencing. They're aware enough of it, and I know that MP and people say that, but ultimately at the end of the day, yes, you're not generating 10 mirrors in a week. I'm sorry. Should I really feel bad that you generate so much currency in a league in a week that you can do literally anything you want for the rest of the league when people struggle to sometimes the entire league to get a fraction of what those people are getting. No, I don't really feel sorry for them. And I understand that like Path of Math is kind of like blown up and like, you know, start attacking people. Not cool. But they're so far past the average PoE player that they forgot what the struggles of that are like. Like Snap's team and MP's team, they got over the gear. They don't even, I doubt they even experience any kind of gearing troubles at all because they're so well optimized. They just blast through it. It's not even a problem. They only look at the very, 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 very extreme slice top of it and think everything else below it is representative of what they're doing. And it's just frankly not. So I don't know, like there's a lot of problems with the game. I think Arch Nemesis really needs to get changed. Brittle Knee said some things really good in the podcast. Like, it's not that the mechanic is bad, it's just the implementation and the scaling is out of control. Like, you know, you can do like uber Maven, and it's never gonna, you know, pale in comparison to the damage that like a 6 Arch Nemesis with 7 you know, essences in it and a ghost can get. It is literally not possible to get anything harder than that in the game. And it like I said in the last video, if it was every once in a while, then it would feel special and you could like kind of overcome it. But just at the overbearing, just beat your head in with it, I think is kind of silly. So TLDR, loot is fine. Yes, currency per hour sucks right now, and I'm really sorry for all the trade league guys who like their entire purpose of playing the game is to generate as much currency as they could to make builds they want to do. And I sympathize with you if you're one of those people and you want to make builds because you generate so much currency and you feel like it's taken away from you. Don't blame the loot of the game. Blame the direction the game is going and the difficulty curve, because you need X amount of currency to overcome Y difficulty. And if they artificially lengthen that, yes, loot in general feels worse because you're taking longer to get it. But in reality, if you objectively look at what you're doing, unless you are like the most giga juicer player, it's fine. Okay. Anyway, enough rambling, guys. I'm going to cut it there. You guys enjoy the video. If you like it, subscribe, like, all that stuff. I'll be live over on twitch.tv/Drydeck_TV. 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, rocking and rolling again with the Righteous Fire guy. Having a ton of fun. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!